These are wild times. Have we ever had this? A country that's being invaded, under total siege, and the president, from the battlefield essentially, the president of Ukraine is able to address world leaders. He's doing that, and actually he'll be speaking to the U.S. Congress, a joint session tomorrow. Today was extraordinary. He spoke, he begged at points for help, and who's to blame him? He also made a remarkable concession today. I think this is significant. Others agree. Could this be a glimmer of peace? Is this what the Russia? Is this a way out for everybody? Take a look.
It's clear that Ukraine is not a member of NATO. We understand it. We are adequate people. We have heard for years about open doors, but we have already heard that we won't be able to join it. It's the truth, and it's necessary to admit it. I'm glad that our people start understanding it and counting on themselves and our partners who help us.
Okay, that's actually a big deal. If he says we're not going to be joining NATO for decades, maybe, is that what the Russians are looking for? We know that they found NATO expansion provocative. That's a big deal to them. Kissinger warned about this decades ago, that NATO expansion could lead to very bad things, a very bad reaction from Russia. Back to Zelensky. His performance, as we all know, has been extraordinary. He's talking to world bodies, and the world is going to him. Take a look at this. There is a summit in the works happening in Kyiv. The leaders from Poland, from Slovenia, from the Czech Republic, there they are. The guy in the tie, by the way, we think he works for the train. Here are the leaders on a train on their way to Kyiv to sit down with him and to show unity. And that's pretty remarkable. It's also very, very gutsy, of course. Now, where are we? A quick review of the sanctions. You hear a lot about the sanctions. What actually is being imposed, all right? Yes, we have blocked Russian banks' access to SWIFT, very important program. Russian aircraft banned from U.S. airspace, ban on Russian oil, ban export of luxury goods to Russia. What else? Travel bans, asset freezes, personal sanctions on Putin's spokesperson, family, banned transactions with Russian Central Bank, Ministry of Finance, and so forth. Next, we have revoke Russia's most favored nation status. Now it's getting even more severe. Deny borrowing privileges at multilateral financial institutions. Ban U.S. import of goods from several signature sectors of Russia's economy. And how about this? Military aid. Yes, it is coming in. This is serious military aid. And also a lot of cash. A lot of money is going to Ukraine. But is this too little, too late? Zelensky is not satisfied, and who can blame him? He wants more.
You all need to do more to stop Russia, to protect Ukraine, and by doing that, to protect Europe from Russian threat. They're destroying everything, memorial complexes, schools, hospitals, housing complex. They already killed 97 Ukrainian children. We are not asking for much. We're asking for justice, for real support, which will help us to prevail, to defend, to save life all of the world.
He's speaking there to the Canadian Parliament, and they loved the message. At least, well, look at how they reacted.
Glory to Ukraine. Thank you to Canada.
And it went on like this for about a minute. By the way, it doesn't mean he'll get what he wants. Now, tomorrow, Zelensky will speak before our Congress. He's going to do it during the day, though, not in prime time. I don't think they want the American people to hear all of this, to be hanging on his every word, because Congress may say no to him. They said no to Poroshenko when he asked for weapons, the former president of Ukraine. But it should be a wild scene, historic. I don't think this has ever happened. A guy from a battlefield addressing Congress. The closest thing I can think of, MacArthur. But he had just been fired, and he was off the battlefield, and he spoke to a joint session of Congress. So We mentioned sanctions. They obviously were not tough enough, or are not tough enough, because they did not stop Putin, and they are not stopping Putin. And that was, we were told, the intention. We were sort of told that, remember?
The purpose of the sanctions has always been and continues to be deterrence.
The purpose of the sanctions, in the first instance, is to try to deter Russia from going to war.
The president believes that sanctions are intended to deter.
They're meant to prevent and deter a large-scale invasion.
We want them to have a deterrent effect.
The sanctions are designed in the first instance to try to deter Russia from taking further aggression,
as well as our efforts to both try to deter Russia through sanctions.
If you pull the trigger on that deterrent, well, then it doesn't exist anymore as a deterrent.
All right. Real quick, a deterrent, just so we know, a deterrent is the following, okay? The action of discouraging an action or event through instilling doubt or fear of the consequences. And man, we know what that means. We know what they said. And then Joe Biden mixed it all up.
No one expected the sanctions to prevent anything from happening.
Really? This is a problem. Inconsistent message, but I don't know. Do you? Are we going to up it a notch somehow? It's worked before. When Trump came into office, who remembers Kim Jong-un? He was firing rockets like crazy. He did. Very, very provocative. Do you remember? One came very close to Guam, which is a U.S. territory in the Pacific Ocean.
North Korea is spelling out a potential battle plan against the United States. The regime says it will be ready to fire 4 missiles towards Guam later this month.
There is a direct threat to the United States here from the North Koreans. It doesn't get any more direct than that for them to say they are looking at a plan to attack Guam.
The regime says it could use missiles to create an enveloping fire over the Western Pacific island.
A direct threat. Wow. How do you deter a direct threat from North Korea, from an adversary like that? I think this is a textbook way to do it. Donald Trump style.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
Clear, direct, unmistakable, and I believe he meant it, right? Clear cut. And he doubled down on that, right?
The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime. The United States is ready, willing, and able, but hopefully this will not be necessary.
So the world was horrified. How could he talk like that? How gauche, how... But that was the point. And you know who was horrified? The person we wanted to deter, Kim Jong-un. And guess what? They announced that they will stop nuclear tests and launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles. It is not necessary for us to conduct any more nuclear tests. I think he got the message. That deterrent thing we were talking about, right? The action of discouraging an action or event through instilling doubt or fear of the consequences. Well done, President Trump, because now that he's gone, Kim Jong-un is pressing that button like crazy, launching rockets left and right. Take a look at this schedule of launches that we've seen as of late. Kim Jong-un, and now there's been a burst of ballistic missiles in the new year, 7 in January alone, and 2 in the past few weeks. Yes, things have changed because, well, Joe Biden is stumbling and bumbling around, and he is not impressive. He's not talking in that forceful, direct way. In fact, it's just the opposite. Things got a little interesting for him. I wonder if he got nervous because Vladimir Putin announced that they are personally sanctioning Joe Biden. Any bank accounts he has over there, he won't be able to access. And Donald Trump had this to say about that latest development. Breaking news, Russia just sanctioned Joe Biden. While that is a terrible thing in so many ways, perhaps it will now be explained why the Biden family received $3.5 million from the very wealthy former mayor of Moscow's wife. During our presidential debate, moderator Chris Wallace, then of Fox, would not let me ask that question. He said it was inappropriate. Remember that? Perhaps that's why Biden has been so slow on the draw with Russia. This is a really bad conflict of interest that will perhaps now be fully and finally revealed. First of all, remember that moment in the debate? Trump had some momentum. Hey, I wanted to know about the financial shenanigans of the Bidens. I think it could have been discussed, didn't you?
He didn't have a job until you became vice president. Once you became vice president, he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
that is simply
and various
not
other places.
True.
He made a fortune.
My son.
And he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he given tens of millions of dollars?
But he wasn't given tens of millions of dollars. That is totally discredited.
We've already been
totally discredited.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial subjects. Well, you know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a judgment call here.
Gets $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow.
Let's talk about not true. Gentlemen, that report is totally discredited. Mitt Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money, that report. It was written for political reasons.
You know, I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay.
Climate change. I'd like to know about Joe Biden's conflict of interest right now. Right now, that's important. Chris Wallace shut it down. These numbers are accurate. That kind of money went from a Ukrainian company to the Bidens, and that kind of money went from the mayor of Moscow's wife that has not been refuted to the Bidens. This is a conflict of interest, and we should have known about it, heard more about it during the campaign, but you just saw how it was silenced. And by the way, that laptop, which is a roadmap to their corruption, has never been refuted, the authenticity of it, it's actually been validated, although he had no problem lying about it during the campaign.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And that's exactly what.
Is this where you're going? This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race and climate change. Not about the laptop, not about Joe Biden's business dealings overseas. It's a valid issue. And by the way, the computer, it's been verified, okay? It was Hunter. There's a major book by one of the best journalists in the country, Miranda Devine, Laptop from Hell. You can read it. I did. I highly recommend it. Everybody knows it now. I mean, everybody knows it. Take a look at this. When's the last time 62% of America agreed on anything? Putin would not have invaded if Trump were president. 62% of Americans believe that, and they're not wrong.